What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is Ironheart Season 1, Episode 5. We're almost done. Did I like the episode? Did I not like the episode? You're going to find out because you're going to click like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. I know we just met, but I want to turn this into a long-term relationship, and the only way I can do that is if you subscribe. It's a huge commitment, I know, right out of the gates. We're doing that like 90-day fiance thing, and the YouTube version of it where you just subscribe right away. I have critics say they go into things blind. I literally went into this blind, even though it's the 5th episode of the series of 6 episodes that I've already been watching. So let's go. Ironheart Riri. What hath Riri wrought? So when's last we left off, I already complained about a lot of stuff in episode 4, which kind of left Riri on the outs of her with Natalie. So Natalie was sort of off on her own, reminiscing, and obviously Hood wants to get his revenge. We still don't know what's up with the Hood, where it comes from. We've introduced witches into this because, and the whole like Doctor Strange world, they talk about Dormammu in here like it's just nothing. That huge giant thing that kept swiping at Doctor Strange, and he kept having to it's funny how they talk about Dormammu here like he's a chihuahua or a poodle or something. That's just this, like, they don't even understand the scale of Dormammu. I remember when I was doing my early movie reviews, I was talking about use size relativity. Dormammu was one of them. Like, when I listened to the audio description for Doctor Strange, I felt like the adjective that they used to describe him was just sort of generic, and you don't really get the idea of how big Dormammu is in that. And so anyway, we start talking about him here. So we saw that Joe got an upgrade, or whatever you want to call him. He's out now, and eventually he's going to fight Riri, but not before Riri has to fight. Riri gets caught up. She's down the witch's road at the witch's store, and so she gets caught up talking to the younger of the two from the last episode, and the Bash brothers show up first. Bash twins. That was a Mighty Ducks reference. I know one of them is a girl, so the Bash siblings show up first to try to take Riri out, and even though Riri doesn't have her suit and has no discernible skill set, she manages to fight off 2 people whose entire job is brawling. Like, that is what they do. Remember in their introduction, their Ocean's 11 introduction from a long time ago, that was their whole thing, was they just got into a lot of fights. Somehow she beats them both, and then Clown comes in with her ability to do, I don't know, explosives and fire, and somehow Riri also defeats Clown through ingenuity and spunky attitude. So Clown and the other 2 get defeated. And then as she's trying to leave, Slug, who, so at the same time, Slug has captured the suit, has used a magnet to capture Natalie in the suit. So Natalie is trapped to this magnet that's at the back of the truck, and Slug is driving down the street. Slug tries to run over Riri, which doesn't work out well. Eventually, Natalie is able to break out, and Natalie is able to try to help Riri for this final boss battle, which is Joe, who's turned into, I don't know, man. I didn't, is this canon? If he's a certain villain, I'm supposed to know who this is. I'm sorry. I don't. This is where I'm not going to say I'm this deep of a Marvel fan. So Joe basically is like Electro. I mean, he just shoots electricity. He's charged up and and has all these body modifications. So he disables the suit pretty quickly. The suit like goes on low power mode because he's draining it of its energy. And so even though Natalie got there to help, Riri is sort of left defenseless. And so Joe kicks Riri's ass, and he's supposed to kill her, but he doesn't. And he just tells her, "Get out of town. Parker wants you dead." But I'm just gonna take the suit's helmet and say I killed you. And that works out because even though Clown saw that Riri was still alive, Clown decides to lie about it because there was something that Riri was mentioning about how Parker, which probably makes sense to Clown because they're like, well, Clown did, he did send us to kill you, so maybe he did that to, what was his name? Bruiser, whatever. I don't know. The guy that died from the first episode, the first tech guy. So Riri tees him up and says, well, yeah, the Parker doesn't, family means nothing to him. So Clown and the rest of the crew go back, and Parker asks Joe about, the thing, and Joe's like, well, I didn't sign up to just go kill people, so I'm out. And Parker lets him walk, and then the rest of the team, they ask him about this, what Riri said, and Parker just gets upset, and he's like, you don't question me, and he ends up kicking them all out, whether they're not even, I don't even think they're all that mad at him. But Clown is mainly leading the charge, and then Parker just decides he can do this all by himself. So he kicks everybody else out, and so they're all back to being lost children. So Parker's by himself with the hood, and you start seeing these like black marks on his face, like this. The hood is starting to consume him. Anyway, so back at Riri's, she had to abandon her suit because it had no power. So it's like on a rooftop somewhere. It has no head. And she does take the power course, so she has Natalie, and she brings it back, and her mom is mad at her at first, but then realizes that Riri's just been in a battle and she's got all these battle scars on her. So they have a nice little come to Jesus, and she tells her mom what's up, and the mom reveals that she actually still has the shop. We thought she sold it, but she doesn't. And in the shop is this old car of Riri's. So Riri and company and every character who's going to now be part of Riri's family for the ongoing, however long she's around as a character. So her mom, holographic Natalie, start fixing it, and then that little kid that she got the wagon from so she could take her suit across town. He's here, Landon. Eventually Zay shows up, and he ends up just having to like understand. He opens the headphones that she gifted to him. There's some note in there about like Star Trek, and so it harkens back to their childhood days and makes him feel like, well, this is my friend, I can't let her down. So he shows up finally, and they're all trying to build like a new suit for Riri so that she can stand up to Parker. But with all the modifications that she's made on this new suit, they make this suit really fast. This is a little bit much for me. The first time I didn't mind it because it was like, well, she was already a suit and she'd already assembled it, so all she had to do was fix it. She's just fixing a suit. But sometimes we do move a little bit quickly. And so even though she has many hands, she has a whole bunch of people who have no idea what they're doing with tools. Eventually, the young witch comes in. I don't remember what her name is, Xenon or something. And she's there, and Riri decides the only way that she can power the suit is with magic. So, they talk about like Dormammu and stuff, and she's like, I just have to steal a little bit of this magic to power the suit and then get out. So they draw this like rune, and it's gonna like suck the suit in. And she's gonna, I don't know, steal a little bit of magic. And they warn her, they're like, magic has a price, remember. So of course she does it anyway. And we end at this place where it turns out that magic and Natalie don't exist in the same place. So as the magic starts to take over the suit, Natalie starts to disappear, and Riri is trying to download Natalie as quickly as possible to save her, but she can't. And so Natalie theoretically has disappeared. The code is gone. So I'm sure not forever. I'm sure not forever. I know we only have one episode left, but so yeah, that's kind of the cliffhanger. The other part of it is Parker, after he has jettisoned his entire group, he ends up going back and taking Joe, who, because he's made all these modifications, they did this thing, Slug did this thing where he replaced the ownership, and Joe was not the ownership of his own modifications. Parker is. So Parker takes control of Joe against his own will and forces him to be his like henchman, basically, so he can go into this mansion that we see these flashbacks of Parker and John going into the first time. And so he decides to return to this mansion, and then finally we learn some backstory on Parker. So this mansion is actually his. So his dad was rich, but his dad didn't have any time for him. Like Parker's mom died, and he was left with just his dad. And his dad was like, well, you were a handful. He's like, I was 12. So Parker got kicked out when he was 12 onto the street by this rich dude. It's like, actually really makes you feel bad for Parker. Like this story, and the guy that's playing the father is so unapologetic about his behavior. Even though Parker actually really does kind of lean in on the, mom died. It's like you never noticed me. The only time you ever noticed me was when I acted out, it was the only time you ever talked to me. So of course I acted out. And so he got kicked to the curb at 12, which feels illegal, but never mind. So he's back to basically hold his father hostage and get what's rightfully his, which is all that his dad has. So he has the same paperwork. He's like, I bought all the companies. So all of the other heists he's been doing are all the companies that are in his father's portfolio. So he's like, I have voting rights in all these companies. So I can either take you now. I mean, I can either take you now, or I can take you using those companies. But either way, it's going to happen. His dad's like, no, I'm never going to sign this paperwork. And then Parker uses his like invisibility to like suddenly appear behind his father with a gun to his head. And he's like, really? You sure? Sure you're never going to... So the father signs the paperwork, and Parker's like, get out of my house. And so Parker has the house now. But at what cost? Because those black little spiderweb things that we started seeing around him are now developing around him even more. Where is this all headed? Is Natalie going to return? Is Parker going to develop into Venom or Spider-Man? Or what's up with the spiderwebs? What's up with him being slowly eaten alive by the black magic? Black magic and a little... Anyway. Yeah. So I actually like this episode a lot more than I have previous episodes. I actually thought it made sense. It has some really nice beats. There's a moment where Natalie uses her ability to create a hologram that's a memory of the past for Riri. And we get to see Gary and her interacting in the workshop. And it gives Riri a lot of context. So it's like what she needs in that moment. And it's like Natalie knows that. And there were some really nice beats here in this episode that I liked. So I actually feel like we kind of came around to it. So I'm at this point now where if I keep punishing the show like too much for introducing magic, which I don't think we needed, We don't need this Doctor Strange thing. I know where we're headed. At this point, a lot of people do because the internet won't shut up about it. But I'm still going to do these episode by episode. So we'll see how I'm one episode away from finishing it. And I'll talk about that when we talk about it. So I guess magic is here to stay. We're not getting rid of it. I'm sure Natalie will come back. I'm sure certain things will happen. I did think that building the suit out of the car took a little fast. Not really sure what Landon was doing there, how he helped. He's like 10. So feels like Riri was doing most of the work and people were probably standing around watching her. So yeah. I was kind of waiting for maybe like Clown and them to show up, since some of those people, and then them like apologize to Riri and be like, yeah, you were right, because those people would have been able to actually help her, and that would have been sort of like an interesting twist of events. The people who just tried to kill her are now like, hey, guess what? Yeah, you're right about Parker. So, then she would have had people to actually help her, because obviously Slug knows what they're doing tech-wise, has proven that. So I'm sure it would have been at least of some use. Anyway, yeah, other than like the Landon thing and a couple like little tweaks and turns here and there, I like this episode. I think it's the best one since the pilot. Unfortunately, we've also added Witchcraft and Wizardry now, so instead of giving it the same grade as the pilot, an A-, I'm gonna give it a B+, which is a huge bump up from the last 3 episodes. It's a bump up from 2, 3, and 4. So this is the second highest grade. And honestly, it would be on par with the pilot for me if we hadn't decided that we were going to merge this with Doctor Strange, and then like secretly I explained it all in like my episode 4 thing, but I did think it was kind of silly that she'd never been there before, but like these are her mom's friends. It would have made way more sense. This is what I'm talking about. Like, stop fucking with episode counts and let things have 10 episodes or 8. Like, this is clearly shortened. They've clearly had to trim this down because Disney Plus didn't have any confidence in it. So we're like pedal to the metal through this thing, and we're not quite getting the story. You know, people aren't really getting the development they deserve, and it's showing. But I do love Riri. Dominique's done a great job with it, and the internet is just angry for the wrong reasons. So do the finale tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.